Oh my God! Yeah, see now you done got me irritated now.
And they're dirty. I mean, we don't have to get all back into it, but you saw the hit on Keith Marshall. It was a dirty hit, period, and it could have ended his career.
Well, you know what? There's we know several Tennessee fans that they've said that themselves, that they admitted it, that Tennessee in a lot of games last year they put out a lot of players from different teams. Now I can't sit here and say that all those were intentional, because I'm pretty sure not all of them were. But, I mean, let's be real. You've got kids out there that a lot of them will, they either try to disguise the hit or they'll do what it takes to win. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that all of them was on purpose, but it does happen. So let's be honest. It does happen. I mean, that's
right.
I mean, but at the end of the day, in our game specifically, we got the win. And quite frankly, I don't care what any Tennessee fans says. I mean, we won 4 in a row now. It's going to be 5 this year. I'm not scared of Tennessee. And there again, that's a sign of how far they've fallen. I mean, it used to be when Georgia and Tennessee would meet up, both sides, well, I can't say both sides back in the 90s, but at least on Georgia's side, we were like, damn it, we got to play Tennessee. And we just assumed it was going to be a loss, which it was in the 90s. And now the shoe's on the other foot. I don't look at Tennessee, and I'm not scared of them. It's like I'm not trembling in my shoes. Florida's always going to be like on my mind more than Tennessee. I mean, even as bad as Florida was last year, their defense was still pretty good. I mean, granted, both of us were banged up with injuries, but they still had a pretty good defense, so we had something to worry about. Tennessee has nothing. Like. They have nothing, especially since they lost their entire offensive and defensive lines. Tennessee is a damn joke.
Yeah, they don't even have a quarterback. I don't even think they've named a starting quarterback, and they might not have a starting quarterback. I don't know. They might be holding auditions or tryouts now. I don't know. But look, for these Tennessee fans, yipping and carrying on about Oklahoma, I just read this earlier on BreakingNews.com. But they play Utah State the first game. So I suggest you start focusing some of your energy that direction, because that ain't going to be no walk in the park for Tennessee. And if you people lose to Utah State, then you really you ought to be kicked out of the SEC, period. Because if you lose to Utah State, you're probably only going to have 3 wins this year. And, hell, there ain't been too many years where Vanderbilt had 3 wins. So let's get it together. You're embarrassing the SEC. Let's turn it around. At least get to the Music City Bowl. Come on, Tennessee. We're rooting for you guys.
You may be. I'm not. I mean, I think it's funny. It's like, see, another thing too. It's like when we sucked in the '90s. Tennessee fans loved rubbing it in our face. They laughed at us like we were a joke. And a lot of years in the '90s, we were a joke. But now that the shoe's on the other foot, it's always either got to be an excuse or this happened or whatever. Screw excuses. You've had 4 losing seasons in a row. Georgia's kicked your ass 4 years in a row. Florida has 9 or 10 wins on you. What does Alabama have? 6 or 7? You scrubs lose to everyone. Everyone. For God's sake, Vanderbilt has a streak on you now.
God,
enough
so
fucking
sad.
said.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. I think. Okay, we're done with Tennessee.
We better move on to something else. What we lose some friends there.
Yeah. Anyway, but we were talking a few days ago about some of the possible breakout players from Georgia. Seeing as how I just got done ranting and raving, I'm going to get a rag and wipe some of this sweat off. I'll let you start it off, Lou.
All right, on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with Corey Moore and Damian Swan. Now, these are 2 defensive backs we've had around for a few years. And Damian Swan actually, has done some good things, particularly in 2012. Kind of took a step back last year, which the whole defense sort of took a step back last year. But new coordinator, new attitude, lots of new things going on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm really going to be looking for some big things from these 2 guys, Swan and Corey Moore. we really need one of these guys to step up. We desperately need a cornerback who can cover somebody's number one-on-one on an island, to free up some of these inexperienced guys on the other field to get some help over the top from the safety. We don't really have the talent at cornerback to go heads up, against 3 or 4 receivers at a time. We're going to have to do a lot of zone, a lot of double coverage, a lot of safety over the top type stuff. So if we can get one of these guys, and I'm really hoping it's Swan, to step up and be able to go out on an island and cover one of these teams' top receivers, one-on-one, to free up the safety to help out on the other side with some of these younger guys, I think that's going to go a long way defensively in helping us to get where we not be the best front seven in the country, but we're good enough up front. I'm happy with the way we look up front, but we need a couple of guys to step up in the defensive backfield. So I'm looking for Corey Moore and Damian Swan to go ahead and have a breakout year this year.
Yeah, now that was definitely one I was going to name, Damian Swan. He's a senior this year. I don't know how many of you guys remember him in 2012, but in 2012 he was really good out there in the defensive secondary. I mean, I remember that one play he had against Tennessee where Tyler Bray threw the ball and it was tipped. I can't remember who tipped it. It may have been Bakari Rambo. I can't remember, but it was tipped. And Damian Swan leaped up and made one of the more athletic one-handed catches I've ever seen. And he was actually really good that year. But last year it seemed like he just took a step back. He seemed lost a lot of times. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but to me, when a player doesn't know the scheme or is confused about what he's supposed to do, that falls on the coaches. If a player can't understand the scheme, it's the coach's job to help him understand. And last year, a lot of the defense, it was like that. A lot of times you saw guys looking over to the sideline, raising their hands like, what's going on? But I think this year, of course, bringing in Jeremy Pruitt, hopefully he can help coach him up. I think if it's going to be the year, it's got to be this year. I mean, he's a senior, so I actually look for him to step up and be a leader out there in the secondary. Hell, he will be the leader. He's the most experienced guy we have back there. One of the guys on the defensive line I'm really anxious to see after last season, Ray Drew. He had 6 sacks as a junior last season, and he came in, I don't know how many people remember, but he came out of high school as a 5-star. Played very sparingly his first 2 years, but started most of the year last year. This year, I'm really looking for him, to break out and just crack some heads. He just emerged last year, and of course, a stat that doesn't show is getting the pressure on the quarterback and causing an incomplete or whatever. That's not a stat that shows up. But this guy, he was in the backfield a lot, wreaking havoc, and I think 6 sacks. It's not elite, but at the same time, it's pretty decent. But I expect that number to be a lot higher this year. Of course, we alongside of Ramik Wilson and Marlo Herrera. Now, we all know about Ramik Wilson, but Marlo Herrera is a guy that's not talked about a lot, and this guy is a monster. He's huge. I know he shed about 5 or 10 pounds. I know he actually lost a little bit of weight, but actually gained muscle. This guy is just a tackling machine. Him and Ramik Wilson, they were 2 of the top 3 tacklers in the SEC, so that's really the guys on defense that I'm looking forward to see. So what about your guys on offense, Lou? Who are you looking forward to see?
All right.
Well, I'm going to go with the obvious one and say Hudson Mason here. I mean, it's hard to say breakout year when it's his only year, but he's been around forever, 5th year now, and he waited his turn, which you don't see a lot in college ball these days. Usually these people don't play right away. They look to transfer out. But he's patiently waited his turn. And we don't need him to be Aaron Murray. We don't need him to be David Green or, any of these other guys that we've had. We just need him to be Hudson Mason. The talent and the weapons around him are second to none when you're talking about a Todd Gurley, a Keith Marshall, a Malcolm Mitchell when he's healthy, Justin Scott Wesley, Chris Connolly, Michael Bennett, Rump. I mean, you go on and on. I mean, we're loaded with NFL talent all around him on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't think we need him to go out and throw for 500 yards a game. and rush for 50 yards a game and score 3 touchdowns and, all these kinds of things, what we need him to do. And this is a term, I hate when people use this term, and but I kind of understand it, but game manager. He doesn't need to be Superman. He needs to understand what he needs to do, more importantly, what he needs to not do. If it's 3rd and 8 and the guy's not open, throw the ball out of bounds. Let's punt, go play defense and get the ball back. No turnovers, no sloppy mistakes. Don't try to be a superhero. I've joked before, me or you could turn around and hand the ball off to Todd Gurley. It doesn't take that much talent to do that, and I understand it takes a lot more than just that to be a successful quarterback on any level, much less the SEC. But with the talent around him, and just the fact that he's been there and waited, it's good to see. The guy obviously loves the University of Georgia and the Georgia Bulldogs football program. To stick around and wait is something you just don't see anymore. And I hope for his sake, and obviously because I'm selfish and I want Georgia to do well, but for his sake, I hope he has a good season. I feel like he deserves it. From everything I hear, he's a good kid. He works hard, smart, and I think he deserves to have a good year, and I really hope he does. And I'm looking forward to him getting out there and seeing what he can do.
All right.
Yeah, like one of the things I look for Hudson Mason to do is just make good decisions. That's it. We don't need him. Yeah, I agree with you. We don't need him to sling the ball around and do all this stuff. Just simply. I know you hate it, but yeah, just manage the game. Don't make any stupid mistakes. But the one guy I'm looking forward to seeing this season is, you mentioned him, Jonathan Rump. Now, this is a 6'5" receiver who was hampered most of the year last year with a hamstring issue. So that I know he played a little bit, but he didn't play a whole lot. But now that's behind him, this could be a perfect situation. All right, now Hudson Mason gets in trouble. Let's say he's getting pressure put on him. And let's assume Jonathan Rump is healthy. Rump, running down the field, and you got a 6-foot receiver, let's say on a 5'9" corner, 5'10", whatever. Hudson could just throw it in his general direction, and Rump could make a play. It's a luxury to have something like that. And
great red zone target too. Great red zone target to have.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're talking about hitting one of those corner fades in the end zone. Oh man, that's exactly what you want. You want that, prototypical tall receiver, 6'5", 6'6", that can just jump up and get it. And to me, this is that guy. I think Rump has all the tools to be a very, very good receiver, and I think is he a junior or a senior? I can't remember. Do you know?
I think he's a junior.
Okay, because I remember him. He when he came to Georgia, we got him as a JUCO, so I couldn't remember if he was a junior or a senior. I'm not sure, but like you said, we've just got so many weapons on offense. Hudson, like you said, all Hudson really needs to do, just hand the ball to Gurley, ground and pound most of the time, and then weaken that defensive line, get everybody up on the line, and then, that'll help Hudson out in the passing game. Todd Gurley cracks heads, Hudson Mason could kill him with his arm. That's what I really think is going to be the plan a lot of times. I don't see him, this is Mike Bobo, we don't know, but Bobo could come out and his game plan could be to start off passing, who knows, but if it was me, I would definitely start off running the ball. Now that Keith Marshall will be back, we know what happened with him last year. But you got guys, Todd Gurley, Keith Marshall, Brendan Douglas. I know a lot of people don't know who Brendan Douglas was, but go back and watch the South Carolina game from last year, and then you can find it on YouTube. Look at the highlight where Brendan Douglas completely trucks that dude from Florida. You'll become acquainted with him real quick. Of course, our new guys, Sonny Michel, Nick Chubbs. Our backfield is just sick. There's no reason, and you were talking earlier about Alabama having so many Heisman candidates. Now, that could be a problem with us. We know Gurley's the main guy, but, if our backfield is that deep, he could be sharing a lot of carries with Brendan Douglas and Marshall, so he may not get the carries he's accustomed to, which is a good thing, because I prefer Todd Gurley to stay healthy. We need him healthy. If we're going to do anything, whether go to the SEC championship game or, even if it's the national title game, to get there, we need Todd Gurley. That's I think that goes without saying, don't you think?